Okay guys, what I did was I've got the little Lexar USB flash stick inserted in the computer, and I held down the hotkey at power on. On this particular laptop, the hotkey is the escape key, and that causes the menu to show. So you see that what it says, please select boot device. The UEFI, that's the type of BIOS in the laptop. It lists all the operating systems that it has found, and it has found the Lexar flash drive there. So if I just use the down arrow key on the, there we go. Now notice also there's an enter setup. That's the full setup. That will enable you to do various necessary things, like for example turn off secure boot, which you need to do, and also you can choose the flash drive as the default as well if you want to. That means you won't have to go through this exercise at every power on. You can set the flash drive as the default. Okay, well we've done that. Incidentally, if you set it as the default, it depends on the UEFI setup, but on most computers, if you don't have the flash drive inserted, it will just fall back to the normal boot up. And if in the future you put the flash drive in, it will come back again to the default, which will be the flash drive. There are some types, some computers that if you don't have the flash drive plugged in, it will just forget. Anyway, let's just let's accept that. Let's press enter. Okay, I'm just trying to get the screen coming up here. First thing it will do is booting up. See, it's trying to start the EasyOS operating system. What is actually running now is that little file. Remember, there were 3 files. There's the VM Linux, that's the Linux kernel. Okay, that is running, that is loaded. And then there's another file called initrd. And that's actually a little minimal tiny Linux operating system. And that's what is running now. It just does some basic setting up. And then it will turn control over to the other file, which is easy.sfs. That's the 3rd one. And that has the full EasyOS in it. Anyway, looking at this now, we want to choose English in this case. Go down with the arrow key to English, and then press enter. Okay. Now it's asking for a keyboard layout. The default is USA keyboard, which is what we use in Australia. So I'll just press enter, but you can press some other number if you have a different kind of keyboard. Okay, and of course you can fine tune it afterwards. Once the desktop is loaded, you can modify the keyboard layout to your specific type of keyboard. Let's do that, and a password. Now, there are folders in the EasyOS that are encrypted. So the working partition, which is that ext4 partition that I spoke about in the previous video, which is where EasyOS resides, that can have encrypted folders. Now this is important if you're on a USB stick, because really you want, if someone steals it, you don't want them to get all your access to all your stuff. So I'll do a secret password. Let's see. Right, there we go. Puppy123. I mean, that's not my normal password, okay? So don't worry about that. I'm not giving you a secret password. Just make it a bit more harder. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, how about that? All right, there we go. Now, what it's doing now, it's actually taking a record at the moment of the current setup. It's a snapshot. That's so that you can roll back if you later on you do something you don't like. You can take snapshots. That's automatically taking the first snapshot here, and you can roll back to a known working condition. It's one of the features of EasyOS that it will. I'm noticing too here the boot up is a little bit slow, and that's because of this very cheap Lexar flash drive. It's copying at the moment Yeah, it'll be copying easy.sfs into the RAM. One of the great things about EasyOS is that it runs in RAM. The default is to run in RAM anyway. The good thing about that is it makes everything very fast. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Makes everything very fast. It's having trouble automatically focusing. And we have a desktop. There you go. Yeah, running in RAM does make everything very fast. Application loading is super fast. But also it minimises writes to the flash drive. And that's great. So if you've got one of these cheapy like this Lexar and you want to minimise writes, running in RAM means that it will not write all the time to the flash drive. It'll be running in RAM only and writing just to RAM. And you can choose when you want to save the information to the flash drive. You could choose, the default is just to save it at power off when you shut down. Then it will flush everything to the flash drive. So that makes it really great for these cheap drives. Now notice something here. The default or the native screen resolution is very high on this little ZenBook. Now I normally will change it to, I can hardly see the screen, hold on. I would normally change that. Firstly, I'm selecting the country code. I'm going down to Australia, Perth, where I live. So this is the what we call the locale. So we're setting the time and date correctly. So hold on, where are we? Australia. So Australia, Perth. All right, there we go. Okay. Now the other thing I do is over here, I can set the screen resolution, because the default is 2880 by 1800, which is too high for me, so I change it to something more reasonable. So on my ZenBook, it's only a 13-inch screen on my ZenBook, so I change it to 1680 by 1050. Anything else you want to change, this is your quick setup. You can run this quick setup anytime, actually, if you want to change anything. You'll find it in the menu. And you can even run it from a terminal if you want to, just type quick setup. Okay, anyway, let's do that, okay. Here's where you can reconfigure the keyboard. If you have special requirements for your keyboard, you can change the layout or whatever. So we're not going to do that. And here we go. We're changing the screen resolution. And we'll do that then. Okay, and it's now changed to something much more reasonable. And I'll click on permanent, because that's what I want. It takes a little bit of time to think about it. Okay. Now there's the firewall. We just accept the defaults on that normally. Okay, audio. Now audio should normally be working out of the box. If it's not, you'll find down there on the that little speaker icon down there, you can right click on that and choose a mixer to adjust all your levels and defaults. Okay, but we're not going to do that because it should be working out of the box anyway. And there's an information screen, just a bit of getting started information about EasyOS, so you can play with that. So let's get out of there. And just finally, just to get going, because I changed the screen resolution, it's all wrong now. You have to restart the X server to get everything in the right place. So what we have to do to restart the X server, what you do is you go down to shutdown, but we're not going to power off or anything. We're just going to go to restart the X server. There we go. Rectify restart X server. So we'll do that. Now most people won't have to go through that exercise because probably your screen resolution will be fine. It's just that I've got a very small screen with a very high resolution. And there we go. And notice all the drive icons have appeared. We're ready to go. The only thing we need to do now, just to be off and running, is just to connect to the internet. Now I've got my phone set up as a hotspot, so if I click on here, I'm not going to give you my password. Oh, there it is. That's my phone connection there. It will just ask for a password, and then you're up and running. And that's it. You boot it up. I'll just show you one more thing, just to finish off. When you've finished and you've done everything, and you want to power off, you just go to there, and it will ask you if you want to save the session. Well, we're not going to do that. And that's when it will flush everything from the RAM to the flash drive. So right now, nothing's been written to the flash drive. Nothing at all, which is great. So that's going to preserve that cheap Lexar drive for indefinitely. That's about it to get going. I'll show you one more thing. This SDA, it's called SDA because it's the only USB drive inserted. So the drivers, the first USB drive found is just named automatically by the Linux kernel. So it's only SDA. But two partitions, partition 1 and partition 2. Now partition 2, which was that ext4 drive, that has resized itself. In fact, if we mouse over, see it's now saying 28.8 gigabytes. This has resized itself to fit the entire drive. Previously it was only about 1 gigabyte when we wrote the drive image file to it. And you'll notice now lots of folders have been created. Okay, so we've still got the VM Linux, which is the Linux kernel. That was the very first thing that loaded when you started up or booted up the computer. initRD, which is that tiny little miniature Linux operating system where you had some questions about keyboard layout, a few basic things. And then it switched into easy.sfs, which is the full EasyOS. But easy.sfs is no longer there. I did mention that in the previous video. It has actually been moved into here. There, Devuan, Excalibur. There, it's it's been renamed with the version number. So it's been renamed as Easy 7.4.1 and .sfs. The reason for that is that makes it very easy to, when we go to later versions, we update to later versions, we can easily roll back to this version because this file is kept here. In fact, just one, I don't want to ramble on too long, but you will also see that in the releases folder, there are copies of initRD and also VM Linux for this particular version. So that's also for the purpose of rolling back. So if you were to update or do something stupid later on, and you say, oh, that version back there, 7.4.1, that was working great, no problem. When you're booting up, there's a little menu when you're booting up in the initRD, that initRD file. You can roll back from here as well. If you go to shutdown, reboot computer, lockdown in RAM, rectify, reboot with rollback. I want to keep this video very short, but you can choose that, and you can then choose what you want to roll back to, previous snapshots, previous version, whatever. That's enough. All right, now we're just going to shut down. So shut down, power off computer, and yes, we're going to save the session. A whole lot of stuff you can read there about just telling you about the basics of it, that it's running in RAM. Okay, so we go to save the session. There we go. And that's it.